All right, quick challenge. 10 AZ-104 questions. No theory, no fluff. Just real exam level scenarios. Let's see how many you can get right. Question 1. You have an Azure subscription. You deploy a virtual machine scale set that is configured as shown in the following exhibit. Based on the information provided, select the answer choice that completes the following statement correctly. At 9 a.m., the scale set starts and CPU utilization is 90% for 15 minutes. How many virtual machine instances will be running at 9:15 a.m.? A to B, C, 4, D, 5. This question tests your ability to read VMSS autoscale settings from the exhibit and apply the scale-out logic step by step. Read the exhibit values carefully before calculating. Setting value, initial instance count 2, scaling policy. Custom minimum instances 1, maximum instances 10. Scale out, CPU threshold 75%. Scale out, duration 10 minutes. Scale out, increase by 1 instance. Scale in, CPU threshold 25%. Scale in, decrease by 1 instance. The correct answer is B. 3. At 9 a.m., the scale set starts with the initial instance count equals 2. CPU immediately hits 90%, which exceeds the scale-out threshold of 75%. The scale-out rule requires the CPU threshold to be exceeded for the duration of 10 minutes. At 9 to 10 a.m., after 10 minutes, the condition is met and Azure triggers a scale-out, adding 1 instance, bringing the total to 3. By 9:15 a.m., only 1 scale-out event has completed. Scale-out events have a cooldown period and add only the configured number of instances at a time, plus 1 in this case. So the total running instances equals 2 plus 1 equals 3. Why are the other options wrong? A2 is wrong. The scale-out condition is met, 90%, 75% for 15 min, 10 min, so Azure will scale out. Staying at 2 is incorrect. C, 4 is wrong. Only 1 scale-out event fires in this 15-minute window. The rule adds 1 instance per trigger, not 2. D5 is wrong. The initial count is 2, not 4. Adding 1 gives 3, not 5. Quick memory tip. VMSS scale-out equals initial count number of triggers tax increase by value 2, initial plus 1 trigger fired at 9:10 a.m. equals 3 instances at 9:15 a.m. Question 2. You have an Azure subscription that contains the storage accounts shown in the following table. You deploy a web app named App1 to the West US Azure region. You need to back up App1. The solution must minimize costs. Which storage account should you use as the target for the backup? A. Storage 1, B. Storage 2, C. Storage 3, D. Storage 4. This question tests 2 key criteria. 1. Which storage account kinds support Azure App Service backups? And 2. Which one minimizes costs? Same region equals no data transfer costs. The 2 filters to apply are compatible kind plus same region as App1, West US. The correct answer is B. Storage 2. Azure App Service custom backups require a storage account that supports blob containers to store the backup.zip files. This means the storage kind must be either Storage v2 or blob storage. Both support blob containers. Storage 2, blob storage West US, is in the same region as App1, West US. This avoids cross-region data transfer charges, directly minimizing costs as required. While Storage 1, Storage v2, also supports blobs, it is in Central US, a different region from App1, West US, which would incur additional data egress costs, making it more expensive. Why are the other options wrong? Storage 1 is wrong. Storage v2 supports blobs, but it is in Central US, different region from App1, West US, incurring cross-region data transfer costs. Storage 3 is wrong. Block Blob Storage is a premium performance tier storage account. While it supports blobs and is in West US, it is significantly more expensive than standard blob storage, violating the minimize costs requirement. Storage 4 is wrong. File storage only supports Azure Files, SMB shares. It does not support blob containers required for app service backups. Quick memory tip. App service backup equals blob compatible storage plus same region equals minimum cost. Blob storage West US equals compatible, same region, storage 2 wins. Question 3. You have the role assignment file shown in the following exhibit. Based on the information presented, select the answer choice that completes the following statement correctly. Can create a virtual machine in RG1. A. User 1 and User 4. B. User 1, User 2, and User 3. C. User 1, User 2, and User 4. D. User 1, User 3, and User 4. E. User 1, User 2, User 3, and User 4. This question tests your knowledge of Azure RBAC, role-based access control, specifically scope inheritance, and which roles allow VM creation. Two things to check for each user. One, do they have a role that allows creating VMs, owner or contributor? And two, does their scope cover RG1? The correct answer is A. User 1 and User 4. User 1 has the owner role at the subscription scope. Since the subscription contains RG1, User 1's permissions inherit down to RG1, granting full access, including VM creation. User 4 has the contributor role scoped directly to RG1. The contributor role includes permissions to create and manage VMs within that resource group. Both User 2 and User 3 are disqualified because their scopes do not cover RG1 for VM creation. User 2's scope is RG2 only, and User 3's scope is limited to a single existing VM, VM1, within RG1, not the entire RG1 resource group. Why are the other options wrong? User 2 is excluded, owner of RG2 only, has no permissions over RG1 whatsoever. Roles do not cross resource group boundaries. User 3 is excluded, owner of a single VM, VM1. This only grants management rights over that specific existing VM, not the ability to create new VMs in RG1. Quick memory tip, RBAC inheritance flows down. Subscription, resource group, resource. User 1, sublevel owner, plus User 4, RG1 contributor, equals only ones who can create VMs in RG1. Question 4. You have a Microsoft Entra tenant named adatum.com that contains the groups shown in the following table. Adatum.com contains the users shown in the following table. You assign the Microsoft Entra ID P2 license to Group 1 and User 4. Which users are assigned the Microsoft Entra ID P2 license? A. User 4 only. B. User 1 and User 4 only. C. User 1, User 2, and User 4 only. D. User 1, User 2, User 3, and User 4. This question tests one of the most important and frequently misunderstood limitations of group-based licensing in Microsoft Entra ID. The critical rule to remember, group-based licensing does not support nested groups. The correct answer is B. User 1 and User 4 only. The license is assigned to Group 1 and User 4. Group 1's only direct user member is User 1, so User 1 receives the license through group membership. Group 2 is a member of Group 1, and Group 3 is a member of Group 2. But since Entra ID does not propagate licenses through nested groups, User 2, direct member of Group 2, and User 3, direct member of Group 3, do not receive the license. User 4 receives the license because it was directly assigned to them. Direct assignment always works regardless of group membership. Why are the other options wrong? C and D are wrong. They include User 2 and or User 3, who are members of nested groups, Group 2 and Group 3. Entra ID licensing does not cascade through nested groups. A is wrong. It excludes User 1, who I is a direct member of Group 1 and therefore does receive the license. Quick memory tip, Entra ID group licensing equals direct members only, no nested group inheritance. Group 1 license, User 1 direct, User 2 nested via Group 2, User 3 nested via Group 3, User 4 direct assignment. Question 5. You have peering configured as shown in the following exhibit. Based on the information presented, select the answer choice that completes the following statement correctly. Hosts on VNet 6 can communicate with hosts on clusters. A. VNet 6 only. B. VNet 6 and VNet 1 only. C. VNet 6, VNet 1, and VNet 2 only. D. All the virtual networks in the subscription. This question tests your understanding of what the disconnected peering status means in Azure VNet peering and how it affects actual network communication. From the exhibit, VNet 6 has two peerings, peering 1 to VNet 1 and peering 2 to VNet 2, but both show status, disconnected. The correct answer is A. VNet 6 only, peering 1, VNet 6 VNet 1 equals disconnected. This means one side of the peering link was deleted. Even though gateway transit is enabled, no traffic can flow between VNet 6 and VNet 1. Peering 2, VNet 6, VNet 2 equals disconnected. Same situation applies. Traffic cannot flow between VNet 6 and VNet 2 either. Since both peerings are disconnected, VNet 6 is effectively isolated. Hosts on VNet 6 can only communicate with other hosts within VNet 6 itself. Why are the other options wrong? B and C are wrong. They assume traffic can flow to VNet 1 and or VNet 2, but the disconnected status means no traffic can flow to either VNet. D is wrong. There is no peering to any other VNet in the subscription. VNet 3, VNet 4, VNet 5 have no peering configured at all, and the existing peerings are both disconnected. Quick memory tip. Disconnected peering equals no traffic. Must delete both links and recreate to fix. Disconnected, connected. VNet 6 can only talk to itself, VNet 6 only. Question 6. You have an Azure subscription that contains the resources in the following table. You install the web server iOS server role on VM1 and VM2, and then add VM1 and VM2 to LB1. LB1 is configured as shown below. Rule 1 is configured as shown below. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. VM1 is in the same availability set as VM2. A. Yes. B. No. This question tests a critical limitation of the Azure Basic SKU Load Balancer, specifically what it requires for its backend pool members. The key detail from the exhibit is SKU Basic. This is the deciding factor. The correct answer is A. Azure Basic Load Balancer has a strict requirement. All VMs in its backend pool must belong to a single availability set, or VMSS. This is by design, as Basic LB does not support VMs spread across multiple availability sets or standalone VMs. Since the question states VM1 and VM2 were successfully added to LB1, Basic SKU, the only way this is possible is if both VMs are in the same availability set. Confirming the statement is true. Why is no wrong? If VM1 and VM2 were not in the same availability set, they could never have been added to a Basic SKU Load Balancer backend pool. The Azure portal would have rejected the configuration. Quick memory tip. Basic LB equals same availability set required. Standard LB equals same VNET is enough. LB1 is basic SKU plus VM1 and VM2 added successfully. They must be in the same availability set, yes. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Question 7. You have an Azure subscription that contains the resources in the following table. You install the web server IIS server role on VM1 and VM2, and then add VM1 and VM2 to LB1. LB1 is configured as shown below. Rule 1 is configured as shown below. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. If probe1.htm is present on VM1 and VM2, LB1 will balance traffic for TCP port 80 between VM1 and VM2. A yes, B no. This question tests your understanding of how Azure Load Balancer health probes work, specifically what conditions must be met for traffic to be distributed to backend VMs. From the exhibit, health probe equals probe1, HTTP 80 probe1.htm, and load balancing rules rule 1, TCP 80. The correct answer is A. Yes, Azure Load Balancer only sends traffic to backend VMs that pass the health probe. The probe1, HTTP 80 probe1.htm, checks whether the file probe1.htm is accessible via HTTP on port 80. The question states IIS is installed, so port 80 is listening, and probe1.htm is present. Both conditions are met on both VMs, so both VMs are marked healthy by the probe. With Rule 1 TCP 80 configured, session persistence equals none and both VMs healthy. LB1 will distribute incoming TCP port 80 traffic equally between VM1 and VM2 using its default round-robin algorithm. When would the answer be no? If probe1.htm was missing on one or both VMs, the probe would return HTTP 404, marking that VM as unhealthy, and LB1 would stop sending traffic to it. If IIS was not running on the VMs, port 80 would not respond. The probe would time out, and the VM would be marked unhealthy. Quick memory tip. Health probe passes HTTP 200, VM is healthy, LB routes traffic to it. IIS probe1.htm present both VMs healthy, its LB1 balances TCP 80 traffic between VM1 and VM2 equals yes. Question 8. You have an Azure subscription that contains the resources in the following table. You install the web server IIS server role on VM1 and VM2, and then add VM1 and VM2 to LB1. LB1 is configured as shown below. Rule 1 is configured as shown below. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. If you delete Rule 1, LB1 will balance all the requests between VM1 and VM2 for all the ports. A. Yes. B. No. This question tests your understanding of how Azure Load Balancer rules work, specifically whether a load balancer can forward traffic without any rules configured. From the exhibit, the only load balancing rule configured on LB1 is Rule 1, TCP 80. NAT rules equals none, shown as NASH in the Essentials panel. The correct answer is B, no. Load balancing rules explicitly define which front-end port protocol to accept and which back-end port pool to forward to. Deleting Rule 1 means LB1 has no rules at all. NAT rules are also masked as shown in the exhibit. Azure Load Balancer does not have a default forward all traffic behavior. It only forwards traffic that matches a configured rule. With 0 rules, all incoming traffic is dropped. The statement claims LB1 would balance traffic for all ports after deletion. This is a double misconception. 1. No rules equals no traffic forwarding at all. And 2. Even with rules, Azure LB only forwards traffic for specifically configured ports, never all ports automatically. Azure LB never auto-forwards all ports without a rule. Traffic forwarding is always explicit and rule-driven. Even if someone confused this with an HA ports rule, which forwards all ports, that feature is only available in standard SKU. LB1 is basic SKU, which does not support HA ports rules. Quick memory tip, no rule equals no traffic. Azure LB only forwards what rules explicitly define. Delete rule 1, 0 rules, 0 traffic forwarded equals no. Question 9. You have an Azure subscription named Subscription 1. Subscription 1 contains a virtual machine named VM1. You install and configure a web server and a DNS server on VM1. VM1 has the effective network security rules shown in the following exhibit. Based on the information presented, select the answer choice that completes the following statement correctly. Internet users, an exhibit. A. Can connect to only the DNS server on VM1B. Can connect to only the web server on VM1C. Can connect to the web server and the DNS server on VM1. D. Cannot connect to the web server and the DNS server on VM1. This question tests your ability to read NSG inbound rules and determine which ports are accessible from the internet. Then map those ports to services. Web server equals port 80. DNS server equals port 53. NSG rules are evaluated in priority order. Lowest number first, the first matching rule wins. The correct answer is B. Can connect to only the web server on VM1. DNS server uses port 53, checking the rules in priority order. Rule 2. Priority 100 covers ports 50 to 60, which includes port 53. Action equals deny. Since Rule 2 matches first, port 53 is blocked. Internet users cannot reach the DNS server. Web server uses port 80, checking the rules in priority order. Rule 2. Priority 100 covers ports 50 to 60. Port 80 is not in this range, so Rule 2 is skipped. Next, RDP, Priority 300 covers port 3389, no match. Next, Rule 1, Priority 400 covers ports 5500, port 80 is in this range. Action equals allow. Internet users can reach the web server. Why are the other options wrong? A is wrong. DNS, port 53 is denied by Rule 2, Priority 100. Internet users cannot reach the DNS server. C is wrong. DNS is blocked, so internet users cannot reach both services. Only the web server is accessible. D is wrong. Web server, port 80, is allowed by Rule 1, Priority 400. Internet users can connect to it. Quick memory tip, NSG equals first match wins. Lower priority number equals evaluated first. Port 53, Rule 2, 100 equals deny. Port 80, Rule 1, 400 equals allow. Web server only. To get the free PDF or mock test, comment PDF or mock or both. I will share the downloadable link within next 24 hours. Question 10. You have an Azure subscription. You plan to deploy the following file named file1.bicep. For each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. The name of the virtual network will be the same as the location of the resource group. A, yes. B, no. This question tests your ability to read and interpret Bicep code, specifically understanding the difference between a resource's name property and its location property. Look at the Bicep file carefully. Two separate things are defined, name and location. They are not the same value. The correct answer is B, no. The name of the virtual network is explicitly set as the string literal VNET1. It is hard-coded and will always be VNET1 regardless of where the resource group is located. The location parameter, param location string equals resource group. Location dynamically pulls the Azure region of the resource group, e.g. West US, East US 2. This is used for the resource's deployment location, not its name. Therefore, the name, VNET1, and the location, e.g. East US, are completely different values. The statement is false. When would the answer be yes? Only if the code was written as name, resource group, location, then the VNet name would literally be the region name, e.g. East US. But that is not what the code shows. Quick memory tip, name equals what the resource is called, location equals where it is deployed, always separate. Name VNet1, location, resource group, location, not the same equals no. These are the types of questions that actually appear in AZ-104. If you can master these, passing becomes much easier. Check out my website for full practice tests, and I'll see you in the next video.